Hey there, humans of healthcare. When we set out with our first videos, it was just of me in front of the camera offering some niche advice on how to service medical equipment. It was intended to help healthcare executives by giving them some consultative information. But along the way, we thought, hey, storytelling could be powerful. And we asked a few friends to join us and talk to us on camera. Didn't know that anybody would take us up on that offer, but sure enough, a golf buddy, a guy that I knew to be genuine, caring, and turning into a great friend at the time, was willing to come to my office, sit down in front of my iPhone at the time, and just talk to me about his experience. Now, what we didn't realize, or maybe even kind of took for granted, was how powerful his story could be to perfect strangers. When we posted the clips of Suki's video to TikTok and Instagram, we got an amazing response from people who worked in healthcare, people who were patients, or otherwise associated with healthcare who had gone through similar things that Suki had gone through. They had told of their experiences or run-ins with racism and discrimination and general bullying in healthcare. So we kept close to the idea that we wanted to help healthcare executives, but we wanted to help them in a more genuine way through storytelling, through people who've had different experiences in healthcare and really hadn't had a chance to tell that story. So my hope still is that Humans of Healthcare is going to appeal to the healthcare executives and help them, just sort of in a different way, while also helping a bunch of other strangers in the world who are going through their own experience. And Suki, wow, what a great way to tell a story. His charisma makes it really easy to listen to the very painful things that he experienced. Suki's doing great, by the way. He wants me to make sure I tell everybody that he's an investor in Downtime Trace, and he's happy to be a part of other ventures. He's building a baseball complex right now here in Gainesville, Florida, in this area. It's going very well. He said he's partnered up with some Major League Baseball players, people who are big names. So he's doing great. And as you can imagine, his charisma is carrying the day for him in whatever he's doing. So happy to report Suki's doing wonderfully. There's other stories that we did as follow-ups, but watch this one, watch the long form, and let us know your comments. And by all means, please take a note from those who commented on LinkedIn and on TikTok especially. It's okay if you've gone through this. It's okay to say it. You're not the only one. And hopefully Suki's going to help you get that stuff out. He had no idea this was going to come out of him when he came to sit down with me to tell his story. It just boiled over, came out, and it's helped a lot of people, we think. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Hey, everybody, hospital executives. Hey, I mentioned yesterday that we'd have a special guest today as a teaser. So I want to introduce everybody to Suki. Suki, could you say your full name so I don't?
Youram Sukhrum.
Youram Sukhrum. So we're just going to kind of go and let Suki tell his story today. There's a lot to talk about. He's got an amazing background. But remember, this is for you. So it's meant to be entertaining. It's meant to share information. But we also want to talk about people's stories and how they got to where they got to. So we were just having a great conversation, he and I, on the side. And I'll set this up a little bit. Suki and I are friends. We've known each other for about 4 years. And for me, my story is that, we play golf, and I tell people this, and it may not be relevant, and you may not even know that you've done this, but one day I was hitting really bad shots, and I was cussing a little bit. I don't really do that. I'm a Christian, so I don't cuss, right? And then I may have thrown a club, who knows, but I wasn't myself. And Suki, as a kind friend who has candor, he came up to me and said, "Hey, Danny, we don't want to have to endure this Danny for the rest of the day. We love our brother, so don't let this get you in a bad mood, so we would be deprived of who you are for the rest of the day." And it's really hard to find people that will will tell me what I need to hear instead of what I want to hear. So I really value our friendship, and he's been a brother to me. He's here because he loves me, and I wanted to share some of who he is to the people that I'm trying to reach, and hopefully you guys get this and we do our part. But really, it's about you, and it's about the story that Suki has, and so we'll just get started. So Suki, if you don't mind, will you just kind of talk about what we were just talking about? So where did you come from? I know with Guyana, but
Yes.
what was your situation like? I mean, just you and me talking here.
So I was born in Guyana. I grew up there until I was 21. We were under the British influence, ruled by the British.
Yeah.
I went to kind of a Catholic school, was a hybrid, and it was a very regimented military style. You come in the morning, you have to be in the gate by 8 o'clock, otherwise the gate closes.
Yeah.
And the principal is there with a cane. And you have the bigger guys. If you show up late and you try to run, they will run and grab you and you get 6. They bench you and you get 6 lashes.
6? Why 6?
6, because that was the standard. 6 is the start.
Okay.
There's more.
Okay.
So then they check your nails. The teacher in the class, you will put out your hands like this and they check your nails. They'll check your ears, make sure your ears are clean, your hair is well groomed, and your pants, there's no ring around your collar, all those things.
Wow.
So every violation, so to speak, you get an extra lash.
Wow.
So, and there are times when you will get so many lashes if they don't bench you, they hit you in the butt, they hit you in the hand, and the cane would like come across. So my fingers would get swollen, I could barely hold a pen. But there was a discipline that they instill in us how to be a good student and a good citizen. Yeah. It was so bad at times that we used to run away from school. So every day the teacher would write, they have a piece of board, and they would write what they call current events, 5 pieces of news on the board. Once they do that, you have to go read each 5. By Friday, you have 20 pieces of news, and you have what they call current affairs quiz.
Okay.
So they get 5 quizzes, you have to have all 5 right. If not, if you get 1 wrong, you get 6 lashes. Then you have to start being a Catholic hybrid. We sing hymns. So we have to sing hymns. So when you sing, you have the posture, everything. Anyway, so I grew up with that discipline, and then my dad kind of, with the British influence also, we were Indians. My grandparents immigrated from India.
Okay.
And they went there in what they call indentured laborers, not slaves.
Oh, yeah.
To work on the sugar plantation. And again, the British were very strict. Long and short of it, we grew up with that discipline. And that discipline that was instilled in us, we have 6 brothers and 2 sisters, kind of laid the foundation, so to speak, to build upon that. To give you a little more background, we didn't have running water, we didn't have lights, electricity. The government did, because it was an agricultural area.
Yeah, thanks for setting that up. We talked about that. I mean, and it was. You've told me this before, but you're talking about cleaning behind your ears and making sure that your fingers are clean. But you didn't have running water, so how did you guys get water?
So we had the irrigation canals. Each lot has what they call irrigation canals, and it was water that came from the creek, and it was nice and pure black water, like brackish. But we used to go swimming there. There were alligators and snakes.
Oh, wow.
But we used to go jump in the trench in the morning, take off your clothes, you jump, rub soap. We had shallow well. You can get water, but no running water in the faucet or anything.
Okay.
So my sister used to go to the well, get a bucket, and fill it up and bring it. That's what we drank at home.
Wow.
And then we'll go swim in the canals and come back, dry your hair, and you got to be. So back up a little, we get up like 4 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And we have to separate the the calves from the cow, because they're dairy. We sell the milk. So you have to go harvest get the calves back, milk the cows, take the calves back, by 5:30, we jump on the horses, take all the cattle, take them to the pasture, let them graze all day. On the way back, we stop in the rice field, make sure the rice field are filled with water. There's no breach in the dams or everything, because that's where you get your crop from. That's what yield, you get a good yield.
Yeah.
So having said that, those little things every day, kind of repetitive behavior, was instilled in you.
Sure.
So as I got older, I went to high school. Back up a little. So we have these little Pepsi bottles, and they'll put a wick, like a cotton wick, and take clay mud, put it around, and then we light it. That was our source of light.
Oh my gosh, at night.
So that's what I used to study, but because it was like, wavy, and the soot, I mean, my eyes would burn. And my brother was a teacher, so he would give me 5 math problems, and about 5 essay type questions. I had to get all correct before I go to sleep. And sometimes I'll be there like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Dozing off,
and he would like hit me in the head.
Yeah.
Stay awake, get it right.
Right.
You know, but
why was that so important to him for you to be?
Because he was a teacher in the school and he saw potential in me.
Okay.
That he thought I could, excel.
Yeah.
And he was 100% accurate.
Yep.
Because when I got to high school, in 1975, he went to England to study medicine. He's still in England.
Yeah.
He married a Malaysian girl and they have 3 kids. Anyway, when I went to high school, I was just cleaning up.
Yeah.
There's the things that he instilled in me, high school was like a breeze.
Yeah. So you were better than everybody else.
I was so far ahead, 3 consecutive years. Nobody could even come close to me. I was getting 100 on my math, English, history. Biology was like my favorite.
Yeah.
I loved the human body. I loved the...
Nice.
Yes. And that kind of led me, when my senior year, they have something called a work-study program. And they said, we have to write down on a piece of paper what we want to be. For a career.
Right.
And I always want to work in a hospital.
Yep.
All like was God's calling. He says, son, I'm going to put you where I think you're going to serve mightily.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And God so great to me that I said, I chose the hospital to do my work study. 6 weeks.
Nice.
I went to the hospital and they put me what they call the Honda ward. Honda motorcycle, all who has accident, broken legs, hand.
Oh, I got you.
They call it the Honda ward.
Okay.
They put me in there. And let me tell you, I love to go in the morning, prepare my tray with my forceps and my gauzes and my betadine, antiseptic, everything. And I was like drooling. I was like, God, is there a better place to be?
Right.
And I didn't want to leave in the afternoon, 3 o'clock.
You were living your dream. Why would you want to leave?
7 to 3, I didn't want to leave. They said, no, you got to go home. I said, can I do 2 more patients, And when the doctors came around to make rounds, they thought I was an employee.
Yep.
So they call upon me for supplies that the regular RNs would give them, but I was just a volunteer.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
Oh, man.
So anyway,
Man,
that led me to wanting to go to the university. There was only one university in Guyana. They call it University of Guyana, UG. And I wanted to go so bad to study medicine. But in order to go to the UG, you have to serve the government for 5 years. They call them national service.
Okay.
And it was very politically connected. If you don't serve, you can't go to the UG unless your parents have a lot of money. And we had very humble upbringing.
Right.
We didn't have that privilege. So I saw another way. I started taking afternoon classes to become an accountant because my brother in New York was an accountant. And I got my junior LCC. I was working at Barclays Bank, collecting to corporate accounts. And one day, an older couple came in, and I befriended them. I started doing all their books, and I started, helping them with the read because they couldn't see. And one day he told me, he said, listen, I'm going to America. I said, well, you can't go and leave your grandson here. It's a fallen ground. Right. So anyway, they brought me over here. It was a hard journey. I don't want to get too much into it.
Yeah.
But the minute I got here, all I wanted to do was to go to college.
Yeah.
So I was working at Cartier, the jeweler. I was a junior accountant. I managed 3 stock rooms and high-end jewelry. Watches were $250,000. Eddie Murphy came in,
They trusted you in that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Nice.
As a matter of fact, talking about trust, I was doing inventory one year, and I found 3 boxes of what I call tank watches. Each one of them was $2,500 each.
Yeah.
3 boxes, about 3,000 watches.
Wow.
It was not anywhere in our inventory.
Yeah.
So I went up to my boss, Michael and Jeff, and I said, I found this. And they look at me, and they're like, this is nowhere in our inventory. And you know what they did? They gave me one as a gift.
Did they really?
Yes, $2,500.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, anyway. But what happened thereafter, my mind was still, craving to go work in a hospital.
Yep.
So my cousin, who was the assistant director for Respiratory at Jamaica Hospital, said, listen, once you go to school for a nurse's aide, you'll start there, and the union will pay. Once you work in a hospital, the union will pay for you to go further up. So I start taking night lessons, 6 to 10. I work from 9 to 5 at the Cartier, and from 6 to 10, I'll go take lessons, classes.
At the university?
Well, it was a local program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I graduated from there, and I got a job at this hospital to work weekends.
Yeah.
Again, I was in cloud
You're
nine.
giddy, yeah.
I was so giddy.
Yeah.
They put me on the surgical floor.
Yeah.
I would go in the morning, I'll get patient post-op, like post-op day 1, 2, get them out of bed. I'll wash them, I'll groom their beard. I start cutting hair in the hospital. And the head nurse came and said, you can't do that if they're diabetic. I said, well, look, and the family will come.
Yeah.
And they're like, at 1 o'clock for visit, they're like, oh my God, look at my
great.
dad.
Yeah. Oh,
so they'll give
awesome,
me
man.
envelopes, like in $5 an envelope. I said, no, I can't take it.
Yeah.
So they went and they spoke with the head nurse, and the head nurse said, okay, we can take it and put it in petty cash.
Great.
So if anybody has a thing. Anyway, so from by the 3rd or 4th week, Miss Annabelle, who was a supervisor on weekends, says, Suki, everybody's raving about you. Why don't you come work full-time? We have a full-time position. I said, no, I can't. I'm the manager at Cartier, you know.
Must have been hard to say
I
no.
started, believe it or not, at Cartier, making $3.35. I was making $85 a week.
Oh, my
And out of that, I had to pay my rent, do grocery.
How?
Back then, you go with $20 and you get 2 full bags of grocery.
Okay.
I used to pay $60 rent,
Yeah, that's not bad.
Anyway.
Before where you came from, I mean, that's,
But
you got
the
running
opportunity that I saw was so massive.
Yeah, I bet.
I was so on cloud nine.
Yeah.
So what happened, I used to work at Cartier Monday through Friday, and then Friday afternoon, I'll go straight to the hospital and volunteer.
Yeah.
Right? For all night with my cousin. Then I got this job at this other hospital. They came to me and they said, we have a full-time job. I said, no, I can't take it. So the director called my cousin. He said, listen, I'm offering Suki a full-time job. Talk to him. So my cousin called me. I was at Cartier. He said, listen, you dumb shit. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, right.
Take this job.
Yeah.
They're going to pay for you to go to school. I said, okay, fine. So I took the job, and I tell you, I start, going to school to become a respiratory therapist. And my first year, in order to get to the second year, you have to pass the first year. But we start doing clinical also. So certain days of the week, you go to the hospital and you're volunteering. And not volunteering, you go in as a clinic, you're doing your clinical rotation, so to speak.
Okay.
And my first year, I was a straight A student, Dean's List.
Yeah.
We had our final exam, and the professor, I used to work 3 to 11 at night. The professor left my paper to be graded last. So 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm supposed to be at work. I call in sick.
Yeah.
I couldn't because I had to wait for my grades
Yeah.
in order to register for the second semester.
Okay.
1 o'clock in the morning, he called me in. He rigged back like this. He said, do you have a green card? I say, yeah. So he said, you're legal? I said, yeah. He says, what do you do? I said, I'm a nurse's aide. He said, basically, you're cleaning white people's asses, emptying their shit pan. I say, yeah, you can say that, but I enjoy doing it. Yeah. He said, well, you have 2 choices. 1, you can take your green card and go back home. Or 2, you can go back to wiping white people's ass. Because as far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm sitting in this chair, you're never going to make it in respiratory therapy.
This episode is brought to you by Downtime Trace.
In the world of medical imaging equipment, downtime is costly. Finding the right service options and determining if they are available shouldn't drain energy from medical professionals. Every day, healthcare workers face unique anxieties. It may seem small to some, but not knowing which local service experts are available, their qualifications if they're competent, and when they are available is an unnecessary energy robber. With Downtime Trace, you can easily book local service technicians and get real-time notifications on your phone, similar to those you're accustomed to from mobile apps in your personal life. Once on site, service technicians capture a video of the problem they observe, diagnose the service needed, and provide a clear service plan with an estimated labor and parts costs and completion time. Familiar technology matched with decades of experience, track parts and service progress, and get the right updates when it makes the most sense. Once the service is completed, view comprehensive service data and rate their performance. Technicians gain greater autonomy by choosing independent jobs, while Downtime Trace ensures they receive payments within days compared to the many months that typical payment terms take. Downtime Trace ensures seamless communication, better and faster compensation for independent technicians, and complete transparency in service management. Download Downtime Trace now and take control of your medical equipment service.
So he failed me on the grounds that I showed up at the clinical site late. And
This guy hate
to
his
tell
heart.
you the truth, this guy was so prejudiced. He was such a racist.
Yeah.
He says, he told me that I showed up at the clinical site late. Just so you know, I was the first one there at the hospital at 6:30 in the morning. I start preparing the medication for the treatments. I'll get a list. I used to make coffee for the regular staff,
Right.
put on the coffee. So when everybody come, we're on the go.
Right.
So I'm thinking, I said, what hospital? He said, that doesn't matter. I got a report back from there. I said, okay, fine. I came this close to strangling
I bet
him.
you did. You
Yep.
should.
So I left. I went home crying. I say, you know what? All my classmates are moving on to second semester. I'm stuck here.
Oh, man.
So I bit my tongue. I stayed out the whole year. I saved up money. Now, mind you, I was going to college. I never took a college loan. I worked odd jobs, collecting movie theater. I used to collect tickets. I used to do on the side some construction, stuff
Whatever
like
it took, right?
mechanic, whatever, tune up cars and so whatever it took to save up money. But I always paid my education cash.
Yeah.
Every semester, I
Wow.
would pay cash.
Wow. Well, why is that? Why do you think that was? Is it-
Because I didn't want to be indebted to anyone.
I got you.
I didn't want to owe anyone.
Yeah.
Back home, we don't owe everybody. It's cash
They make
business.
their- they make their
yes,
own,
yes.
okay.
My dad bought our tractors cash. Everything was cash. We didn't have credit back then.
Yeah.
There was
No,
no
right.
such thing as credit.
Didn't exist.
No, it didn't
Right.
exist. I mean, you can go to the bank and take a loan, but there was no such thing as credit. So anyway,
Yeah.
I said, okay, fine. So I waited until the second year. I saved up enough money to, advance my tuition. I went to the second year, and I was like a man on a mission,
Yeah.
and I was like, bang, bang, bang,
knocked it
And
out.
I make sure every hospital I went, I kept a punch card.
Yeah.
Because he can't use
Just-
it. He
yeah.
He couldn't fail me academically
Yep.
because I was so above. Because I was working in a hospital,
Yep.
I know how to draw blood gases. I know to change the respiratory therapist as an aide.
Yep.
He would say me, okay, here, this is what you do. Change the FiO2,
Yeah.
change the PEEP, change the tidal volume. I know how to calculate all that stuff long before.
Yeah.
This was so fresh to the freshmen. I knew that already.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Right
I was
ahead.
passing with flying colors. Passed the second semester, third semester. My senior year, they have something called a respiratory sputum bowl for the seniors for in between colleges. All the respiratory
A
program.
competition?
Yes, a
Okay.
respiratory competition. It's kind of like Jeopardy.
Okay.
Jeopardy, like for all the New York State colleges that has a respiratory. So the president, Michelle Okun, says, Suki, we need you there.
How do you spell Okun?
O-K-U-N.
Okay.
Michelle Okun.
And that'll come back. There's a doctor that works for Tyler's Hope, Dr. Okun here in Gainesville.
Gainesville,
He spells exactly the same way. So it
OKUN,
might be
yeah.
interesting, yeah.
So they need four students from each program. You have 3, and then you have an alternate.
Okay.
So Bardell, who was a doctor in Haiti, he didn't pass the board, so he went to become a respiratory
Oh,
therapist.
okay.
So he was our alternate. Brilliant guy, but he
Okay.
just couldn't express himself properly.
Okay.
So myself, it was myself, Bardell, and Michelle. Karen was our alternate. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So they start asking questions, and I'm hitting the buzzer. It was like so easy,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm hitting the buzzer. We won the first round, we won the second round, we won the third round, and then the final round we went up to against Long Island University, and we just swept them. It was like 6-1 or something.
Nice.
So they give you a Sterling trophy, and
Like a cup?
it was a cup, a Sterling
Yeah,
cup, and
yeah.
they said, it's an annual thing, right? So it was the 8th year. If you won it on the 8th year, the college get to keep it permanently, and then you start over again.
Nice.
So that was our 8th year. And anyway, we won the cup. I grabbed it. I went to the bar. I told the guy, fill it up with Bacardi.
Nice.
Straight.
Yeah.
So I took it.
That's
I start
Suki.
passing.
Nice.
Yeah. I start celebrating with all my friends, and he came around, and he said, I just ignored him.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah, the guy that leaned back in his
Yes,
chair
yeah.
was around you.
Oh, yes.
And you had to
He was
deal
our
with
professor.
that guy. Yeah,
He was
you
our
still had to
professor.
deal
Yeah,
with him.
yeah.
After all that, okay.
So what happened, I got a job. They offered me a full-time job as a respiratory therapist. I went to take my boards. I passed the first part. I passed the second part. I passed the neonatal part, and I passed the PFT part.
Nice.
So I was certified in 4 different disciplines in respiratory. So about 2 or 3 years after, and so we used to still get the students from Borough of Manhattan College.
Okay.
And all of them want to hang around me because, I was I graduated from there. And I love to teach.
You love to teach.
I just love to impart information to make people better. Because the way I saw it, like, this is what God wants you to do. And the give back is to educate people. Because one day I might lie down there in the emergency room needing a tube, somebody to intubate me. I want to teach them the proper technique. I want to fill them with the knowledge base that they will need to be the best clinician they could be.
See, and the other thing too, when I think about you, not only the teaching of knowledge, but the pouring in of your spirit to people that you're around, right? I mean, they'll take the information better if they know that they're loved and cared about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you show that to everybody. And this is my experience with you is people, it becomes contagious, right? And then they start showing it to other people because they like the way it feels.
Right.
And
I think the one important thing in any discipline, to have people be included in your conversation. You want them to feel like they're worthy of something. And not to belittle them. When you belittle something, they become intimidated, they become afraid. They don't know how to receive the information. If you're going to constantly beat on them, it's like a child. If you keep telling them you're a no good, you're going to be nothing, and just keep hammering at that negativity, doesn't thrive, doesn't lead to success. Like, Luke, I have a son, Luke, and when you make excuses, I say, Luke, excuses are for failure, right? Creativity lead to success. So anyway, so I had about 11 students running behind me, when we have cardiac arrest, our job is to go put a tube in the patient, intubate them, put them on a ventilator, draw their blood gases, make adjustment, consult with the doctors, what we're doing and stuff. So they gave us a lot of autonomy because of our knowledge base. So the students loved that, and I gave them a lot of, leeway to do things, but with us, I'm watching over their shoulder.
Yeah, you're close.
So 3 years later, the professor came back to the hospital and he said, look at you now, you're El Supremo, like this.
Oh, that same guy?
Yeah, the same guy.
Oh, my gosh.
He said, but I need you to do something. Our program is up for review, the joint review, and I want you to write something good. I said, why should I? The way you treated me? I'm not saying it's a bad program, but the way you treat people, you denigrate them so much. I mean...
that must have been hard.
And I said, you know what, I'll do it just for the students, not for you. So
it's hard, man.
I moved on. I worked there for about a year or 2 years. And then one day, a lady was in a delivery room, and I heard respiratory stat, delivery room. I ran up there and I had 11 students
People
running
just
behind me.
run by,
I said, you guys can't come in the room. And the room was filled. They have her on Trendelenburg, fulminating pulmonary edema, blood. And Dr. Goldiner, who was our medical director, is sitting there trying to get a tube in. And the lady's close to cardiac arrest. She's diaphoretic. She's full-blown pulmonary edema. We call it fulminant pulmonary edema. And I reached over to him. And I said, do you mind if I get a try? He said, absolutely, come in.
Nice.
I said, give me a size 8 tube with a 4 Macintosh blade. Had her in Trendelenburg, and I went down. And I saw the cord barely move, and I slipped the tube in.
Nice.
And the pressure in the lung shot the blood out.
Oh, nice.
I had to barely go like this. It shot it straight across, all over the room. And he looked at me, he said, it's in. It's in.
Awesome.
He said, give me the suction tube. We sucked her out.
What a feeling.
We put, oh my God, yeah. And my students were peeping. And I said, do not come in the room. Because the room was so full. Anyway, I don't want to embellish the story, but I'm saying the way you handle yourself in situation is what's going to, it's kind of like a virus. People look and people see the way you talk to people, the way you compliment them, the way you, impart information.
It's leadership.
Yep. So anyway, from that, he came over and he said, look, there's a thing called perfusion. I have no clue what that is. He said, look it up. I went back to the hospital, our office, and I said, listen, Dr. Goldiner recommended this thing, perfusion. My cousin Pete said, oh yeah, Kevin, his buddy that was in the army with him, he went to school for perfusion in Northeastern.
So you were hooked up.
So I hooked up with Kevin. 4 of us, we worked night shift. We flew up. Pan Am used to have a flight from Boston to New York. We all four, Karen was a nurse, Evelio and Perez, they were respiratory therapists, and myself. Four of us, we jumped on Pan Am, 7 o'clock in the morning when we got off work. Still in our
Right
scrub.
away, okay.
And we flew to Boston, to Northeastern University. We walked in there about 11 o'clock. Dr. Mary Watson said, you guys don't have an appointment? And I says, yes, Dr. Watson, we don't. We heard about the program. We have friends who are, graduates here. He said, who's your friend? I said, Kevin Mackey. Kevin, very interesting. And I said, Michael Filippo. When I came back and I told Kevin said, what the hell you used my name? I got kicked out of the program.
Oh, no.
I said, well.
Oh, it's funny.
I said, okay,
my
fine.
Gosh.
So anyway, she looked at us. We all tell our stories. I told her, the struggles and stuff. And we left.
Yeah.
They said in about 3 weeks, this was in July, I think. In 3 weeks, you're going to get a letter from us. 3 weeks' time, we're all talking to, hey, did you get a letter? Did you get it? No, I got my letter like the 3rd or 4th week in August.
Oh, my gosh.
And classes start in September. Congratulations, you've been asked. So
Nice.
I kept the letter for a week.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell my friends because I'm waiting for them to tell me they got in.
they
So
got
all four
in.
of us gonna go. We're gonna room and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So by the first week of September, I said, "Man, I got a letter. I got accepted." They said, "Well, are you gonna go?" I said, "Hell yeah, I'm going."
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
So
It's your
we
dream.
had just got married in August, the year before. And the year after, Gerard was born. He was about 3 or 4 weeks old. August
my
22nd,
gosh.
2 weeks old. And I asked my wife, asked me, I said, should I go? He said, yes, that's your dream, go.
Yeah.
I said, how about you here? I bought a house a year before we got married.
Oh, my goodness.
Furnished it, everything.
Wow,
yes.
nice.
Yeah. So she's living there. My parents are living in the basement. And she said, go. I had a Pontiac 79 Pontiac Firebird.
Wow.
I took a twin bed. I folded up. I packed all my clothes. Now, in the meantime, in preparation to go there, I looked for a hospital in Boston. And there was this little hospital called Mount Auburn.
Okay.
Mount Auburn. I called a guy, Eric Rose. He's the director. I said, hey, I'm a respiratory therapist, registered respiratory therapist. I'm looking for a job.
Yeah.
And back then they give relocation. I didn't tell him I got accepted at Northeastern.
Yeah.
So anyway, he gave me the job. I went there. I drove around Boston for a whole hour. I got lost.
Yeah.
But anyway, they as part of the package to get a job, they gave me free housing for 3 months.
Oh, nice.
So I had a place to go. I'm looking for
Nice.
this address. I went to unload my stuff, working night shift, going to school day. Now the program requires that you don't work. You have to be a straight A student.
Oh, I see.
If you fall to B, you go on academic probation.
Okay.
So, and it was a small hospital. Now, coming from Jamaica Hospital, we're running 32 ventilators.
Yeah.
We're having 8, 9, 10 traumas, shotgun, stab wound, overdose.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I was running my ass
thing,
all
yeah.
night.
Yeah.
In the morning before I leave, my foot is pulsating.
Oh,
then I have
man.
to go to classes.
Yeah.
Mount Auburn was a small hospital, just 4 ventilators. I could walk, I can do that in my
your sleep,
sleep.
yeah.
I went and they do my vent checks, come back in the office, and I'm studying.
Studying, yeah.
Next morning, I go to straight to classes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I graduate 6 months before. What was happening, they say you have to take minimum of 15 credits. They didn't say what the max was.
Oh.
So I was taking 27, 30
Oh, my
credits. I
gosh.
took 7 classes one semester.
Oh, Suki.
Right? And I'm passing.
Oh, my gosh.
So what happened, I fulfilled the curriculum, right? I completed the curriculum 6 months ahead of
wow.
time. So I went to get permission for graduation to get signed off.
Yeah.
And Mary Ahern looked at me and said, you people come here and you just finish the curriculum. You still have 6 months more. You have to be committed to the university. I said, no. You told me this was secure. These are the courses I need to correct to finish. Well, you didn't do respiratory 1 or respiratory 2, and you didn't do neonatal. I said, Mary, I'm board certified in respiratory.
Yeah.
Why should I take a class?
Seriously.
You take the class in preparation for the boards. I've already done that.
Yeah.
He said, well, you'll have to challenge it. I said, okay, fine. She gave me the exam, no problem.
Nice.
So
Good.
anyway, she kind of refused to let me graduate. He said I have to wait for my graduating class to
for the
walk
class.
with them.
Right.
So I said, no, I'm not waiting. I'm not staying in Boston another
You have
6
to
months.
go, yeah.
I went to talk to Dr. Pat Plunkett. He was the program director. I said, Dr. Plunkett, look, I came from New York. My son is, by then he was a year and a half old. I need to go back, I have a house, my wife is there. He looked at my transcript, Dean's list.
Yeah, nice.
He signed off. He said, okay, you can graduate.
Nice.
So we graduate. Our graduation ceremony was in Boston Garden. Guess who is handing out our...
Boston Garden?
Boston Garden, the Celtics, where the Celtics
That's what
play.
I was going to say, a Celtics player. Was
Yes,
it?
yeah.
Which one? Bill Russell, Larry Bird.
All of them, Larry Bird and Parrish, Robert Parrish,
Nice.
those guys, they were jostling back and forth with the Knicks, with Patrick
oh,
Ewing,
yeah, that's
John
right.
Stark, and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that. So
Back
I
in the
went
day.
one night, tell you a funny story, I went one night at a game, and the Knicks were playing the Celtics, and I'm like, yeah! Dude, there were about 4 guys follow me in my car. They were
Oh,
throwing
yeah.
bottles when I left it.
Yeah, because you were a Knicks
Because I
fan.
knew, and what happened also, my car still had New York plate.
Uh-huh.
People were trying to vandalize it.
Oh, I bet
and
they
I went
were.
back to class and I told them, they said, dude, you got to
do that.
change that plate.
Yeah,
Register
you
it.
can't do
You
that.
have to have Boston plates.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't like New Yorkers
no,
here.
no.
So I had to change all my thing. Anyway, we graduated, came back to New York, and I got a job, and I continued to teach. We started a program in perfusion when I went to Cornell.
Okay.
And we were affiliated with Long Island University.
Okay.
And it was like a dream job,
I bet.
But my first year at Cornell was really, really rough. I worked with 7 women. All of them were OJTs. I was the only student that were board certified. So I don't know if they saw that as a threat, but they gave me such a hard time. Prejudice. One of them went like this. He said, look at you. What makes you think you're cut out to work at this Ivy League institution? Now, at that time, I didn't know she was talking about my color.
Of your skin.
My color of my skin. I didn't know that, but I found out that afterwards. They used to mess up the heart-lung machine. If I did the last case, we're not supposed to wipe it down and all of that.
Yeah.
They would go and spray a little bit of blood. Next day, when the director come in, they say, look, Suki used the pump last. Look at the condition. So he will call me and say, what's going on? I said,
Right.
Bill, I wiped this thing down.
Yeah.
This is impossible.
Yeah.
They would change my medication label. Nitroglycerin went to the neo syringe, neo label went to the... So when you're giving neosynephrine, it increases the pressure.
Right.
I think I'm giving neosynephrine, but the label was
Because
changed.
the label is wrong.
So now the ingredient is nitroglycerin. So I'm pushing nitro, thinking the pressure is going for...
Yeah.
The surgeon look around and says, Suki, what's going on?
Yeah.
You can't keep the pressure
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
So it kind of was like sabotage. One day, a guy came in my room and he changed all my outlet. So the heater cooler used like a 30 amp breaker,
Okay.
right? And that's a designated plug. The heart-lung machine used about 14 point something
I got
amps.
you.
That's a separate.
Okay.
The cell saver,
Yeah.
So they took all my plug and put it on one breaker. The
Oh,
minute I went
man.
on bypass, I flicked the heater cooler.
Yep.
The whole room went dark. Everything stopped.
Yep.
I'm ready to arrest the heart. And the surgeon like, what's going on? I said, well, and I knew, thank God, I'm a little bit of an engineer.
Yeah.
First thing when I start work, I look where the panels are because you can have this.
Yeah.
And I went right away, reached over, and I look at the thing and I flicked the switch.
Yeah.
And everything came back on.
Oh, man.
And thank God,
goodness.
the surgeon was a good friend of mine, Sam Lang.
Yeah.
He said, Suki, what's going on? I said, you know what? Every fucking day,
Yep.
when this person is here, certain things, everything is going wrong. When this person is not here, everything runs smooth.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, don't worry about it. Just bite your tongue. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So the long and short, so after that, I moved to, I worked about 8 years at Cornell. Then I went to work at NYU, still teaching.
Yeah, but wait, before we go on,
Mm-hmm.
Cornell, what happened? I mean, there's 2 instances where you've talked about people with just blatant racism and trying to keep you down. Like, how did you get... Was there any sort of justice, or do those people just still get to go on
No, so
doing
what
what they're
happened,
doing?
I forgot a part. At the end of my first year, my director, Bill Dubois, came and he says, I have to do your 1-year evaluation. So he took me in a little office and I sat down. And he looked at me and said, are you happy here?
Yeah.
And I said, you want to know the truth? And before I could start talking, tears start coming down.
Oh, man.
The year-long of ridicule and prejudice and racist and sabotage kind of all You know, it was, and when I left work every day, I went home, I drove home. I never told my wife anything or shared it with my kids.
Yeah.
One year for Father's Day, my 2 boys wrote, give me a card. And what they said, you know, my dad is always happy when he's leaving to go to work, and my dad is always happy when he comes home.
Nice.
But they didn't know what was going on
Right.
inside.
They didn't know the difference.
So when Bill asked me, he says, I said, all right, I'll tell you what's happening. And I start to relay everything. Looked at me, he said, how long has this been going on? I said, since I started here. He said, tell you what, go home. I'll take care of this right away. So he sent me home. I came back the next day, and I walked in, and all 7 of them came, and they hugged me. And they're like, I'm so sorry. We didn't know we were doing this to you. I said, how do you not know you're doing this to me? I would come in here early every morning before any one of you. I'll prepare the cardiac arrest solution. I'll put the equipment in the respective rooms. And when all you guys will come and go to the cafeteria, sit there and bullshit, right? And when I'm finished, I come, and when I sit, all of you get up, and you left. And the nurses from the OR like, look how they're treating Suki. People observed, people saw that.
Absolutely,
you know. And the other thing she told me, she said, listen, we are perfusionists. We don't associate with the anesthesiologists. We don't associate with the nurses. We don't associate with the doctors, the surgeon. And Dr. Krieger, who was the vice co-chairman, loves basketball, and he knows I love it. So when he come in the morning, we always talk about the Knicks, who did what last night. You know, they hated that.
I bet.
So it was kind of throwing fuel on the fire. What I was doing, but that I didn't know. So when they told me that, I said, let me tell you something. Neither you nor anyone will decide who I talk to or who I associate with. I come here to do perfusion. I'm going to do perfusion to the best of my knowledge. And what happened, midpoint, Bill had asked me to do some research on because it was a big academic university. And one of the things that he asked me to do, that I saw an opportunity to do, was to do blood conservation. How can we minimize, because the bypass circuit contains 2 liters of prime, regardless of your size. So for you, I'm looking at you, you probably have about 6 liters of blood volume. You're talking about a 70 kilogram lady or a 45 kilogram lady. She doesn't have 7 liters. She may have 3.5 liters. So if I put 2 liters to her 3.5, I dilute her blood right away by about 60-something%. You know, so because of that, the hematocrit would drop. We'll have to transfuse. Transfusion come with it doesn't come without risk. Hepatitis is whatever. You know, so what I saw was an opportunity to minimize that circuit. So we call it prescriptive perfusion. When I start minimizing it, then I saw another avenue to drain the patient blood back to back up that clear fluid. Displace that fluid. And let me tell you, we went from transfusing 30 to 40% of patient to almost 0. We did 300 consecutive patients without giving them a single unit of blood. We wrote a whole, based on that little concept, we wrote a whole book of bloodless cardiac surgery. You can go look it up in the library.
Published
Owen Isom was our chair. My name was mentioned once in that book, but that's okay.
But still.
It was a contribution you do for patients.
The greater
so
good.
Based on that concept, we had a Jehovah's Witness patient. The guy came with a crit of 35. The surgeon came and said, Suki, I have this guy. What are you going to do? I said, don't worry, Dr. Rosenberg, I got it. You know, and I explained to him what I'm going to do. I told Bill what I'm going to do. The day when I'm doing it, when I start draining blood back from the patient, one of my coworkers came and said, oh my God, Suki's killing the patient. He's draining, they call it exsanguination. But they didn't know. And I didn't blame her, but I blame my boss that he should have told them, like, Suki going to do this patient. It's a special procedure. So anyway, they ridiculed me, and I said, Bill, man, you got to come to my defense here. I'm going to get written up by the, you know. He said, don't worry about it. Anyway, we did that guy successfully without giving him Jehovah's Witness. You know, they don't take transfer. We did him successfully. Didn't give him any blood. Went upstairs, discharged. That went back in the Jehovah's Witness community. The regional director or something, they came to the hospital. They want to meet with me. They brought camera, ABC.
Oh, really?
Yes, in the room. They want to see my technique. And
so this isn't your first rodeo with the cameras and everything?
No.
All right.
So we, they said, you know what, we're going to designate Cornell, New York Hospital, Cornell, to do all our Jehovah's Witness patients in the Northeast region.
Wow.
And we had like an influx of Jehovah's Witness patients, but I was the only one that was tasked to do them. And that didn't go well with my cohort.
sure.
And I'm trying to teach them, but they were so afraid. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And the resistance to learning also was eminent there.
Yeah.
So I start like trying to make it as comfortable for them. I said, why don't you sit with me for a case? Like one of the girls, Marie Kilcullen. I said, sit with me and you'll see how easy it is, how comfortable. Yeah. So once she sat with me the first, she said, I think I can do that. I said, yes, I know you could.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and part of this is all about inclusion, right? To respect each other's, ideas and thoughts, you know. And this came to fruition when I moved from New York to Florida. I worked for HCA, and I was given the title of overseeing all cardiac services, cardiac surgery, cardiac cath lab, non-invasive, and all of that. So I started to, and I like analytics. So in New York, I built a database based on Excel spreadsheet. Here, I have Access database, which is like take it to the next level. Because I can write my own query, build my own reports.
Yeah.
So I used to see concurrently our performance at a hospital. So that kind of led to it opened up a Pandora of thing. I start preparing these analytics and giving the surgeon, their performance at the end of the month. Rather than waiting 6 months for the national report to come out. I start giving them visibility. I start giving the CEO visibility of the program. And they promoted me.
Nice.
So what I start doing, they give me full access to the whole North Florida region, 12 hospitals. They give me full access. That was in Tallahassee. Full access to the back end of the database, all the servers. So I can look at everybody's performance and call them and give them. I used to have monthly web access. I used to have 160 something people on these calls.
Wow.
Because I would look at their data and I'll reach out to them and say, hey, you know, we need to clean this up, we need to do this. And before you know it, my name was all over this company, 160 something.
Yeah, HCA, right?
Yes, HCA. So Anthony Roberts at the corporate office, he was on one of the calls. I didn't know who, you know, I don't know who's who.
Right.
But most of them are directors and, you know.
Yeah.
So one day I got a call, it was on my birthday, I think it was 2012. He called me, say, hey, Suki, this is Anthony Roberts, Vice President for Cardiac Services at ITC Corporate in Nashville.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Okay.
I said, like, he said, man, look, I saw what you're doing, and we are so proud of you. You're doing such great things for all these hospitals. Not only North Florida, West Florida joined our call, Mountain Region, Utah, Eastern Region, South Region.
National.
They start joining these calls to see how to improve outcomes, reduce mortality, reduce complication, increase medication compliance, discharge medication, and, you know, this whole battery of things that STS is monitoring. So my take is, if we can improve, if we can reduce one mortality, right, we save a life. If we can reduce one complication, we save the hospital 3 extra days. If we can avoid one renal failure, we avoid, you know, and I start translating that into cost.
Clinical,
you know, into cost, how much it costs the patient and the hospital to keep the patient, because it was fixed cap cost.
Nice.
So when he offered, he said, man, I think it would be fantastic if you can come to the corporate office, be director of cardiovascular service for 120 hospitals throughout U.S., Canada, and England. I said, Anthony, let me think about it. I have 2 sons in college here in Florida. Let me think about it. So I went home, I talked to my boys. I came back to him and I said, look, my 2 boys are in college and I can't leave them. He said, no, don't worry about it. We can get them in Vanderbilt if you want, on scholarship. Or if you leave them there, they can fly up here 3 times a quarter, once a month.
They really wanted you.
Yeah,
man.
And that's part of the package. So they flew me up to Nashville, and I had a meeting with them. They put you in a board and in a room, and they have what they call rapid fire questions. all directors.
Oh, nice.
And they're firing questions, and I'm bawling out answers.
Yeah, nice.
At the end, they're like, wow, we are so envious of you. You're such a good clinician.
Yeah.
But at the analytics side, you have such foresight. You're giving us all this information concurrently that gives us this visibility that we can change. And that's another thing, I change processes.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yep.
So I came back, and he said, listen, have you thought about taking it? I said, Anthony, the only way I'm going to take the job is if I can do cases 1 day a week. I need about 40 cases a year to stay certified, board certified.
Yeah.
So if I can sit in the office 4 days, but I want to go to the house. I said, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. So their sister hospital, Centennial, across the street, their contract, he asked the guy, he said, look, I have a guy going to come work at the corporate office as a director, but he's a perfusionist. He wants to do case 1 day a week.
Yeah.
And they said, I'll have to do it on a pro bono basis. I'm like, hell no, I'm not doing pro bono. You're going to give me $1,000 per case, that's $40,000, which the company did agree, but they said they're not going to do it. And I said, well, you can keep it. So I came back to North Florida Hospital. A week later, I got a call from Division. Vince Doyle said, hey, Suki, man, I heard you didn't take the job at corporate. Can you come work at the division office?
Yeah.
I said, Vince, I'm sorry. I'm okay here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But one of the things that, as leader of the cardiovascular service, and I can't begin to tell you how many instances I had where employees weren't happy.
Yeah.
One specific instance, a boyfriend and girlfriend used to work in the cath lab, and the guy was a bodybuilder. And if the cath lab is slow, they will kind of exclude themselves from doing cases. They'll like sit around and bullshit. And this other girl, Rosa, came to knock on my office one day, and she came in crying, and she was about 6 or 7 months pregnant. I said, Rosa, what happened? He says, Suki, they're sitting around, I'm pregnant, and they put me to scrub with all the radiation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, how long is this? So I said, okay, I'm going to start making, and I used to make rounds, and I would see when they see me come around, they will all scamper.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, no problem, I'll take care of it. So I walked in the lab one day, and I saw the two of them, they just BSing, and Rosa. I said, so I went to the cath lab director. I said, I want you to pull all the cases of each employee who did what.
Yeah.
And she didn't know I have my own database.
Yeah.
So she tried to fudge it. And I said, Rita, that's not true. Camille, them, they didn't do all these cases. I pull out my sheet from my database, and I said, why are you tolerating this? Why are you having a pregnant girl scrub back to back to back with these big heavy lead aprons, right? I'm not saying that exclude her, but you have to have an equal distribution.
Sure.
Labor.
Yeah.
This doesn't bode well for employee morale.
Yeah.
I said we need to be inclusive. Let everybody you should have a list of who did what the next day, things like that.
Sure.
So anyway, I said, I'm giving you 3 weeks to fix this, In 3 weeks, I called Rosa. I said, how is things? He said, no. So I got HR involved. I called HR and I said, listen, we need an intervention. And the guy was aggressive because we come in the morning, he would pound his fist on the table.
Yeah.
And, intimidate people. So they were so afraid of him.
Right.
Right. So I called HR, and she came over, very nice girl. She had meetings with them, and she told them, that's when they start learning about code of conduct. And that's something I preach heavily.
Yeah.
Code of conduct has to do with to respect all opinions, all ideas.
Yeah.
Call it cultural differences.
Right.
I might be Guyanese. You're, Caucasian.
Yep.
You may have a South African.
Yep.
People have accent, but that doesn't mean they don't have bright ideas.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, they may not be able to express themselves properly.
Right.
But if you listen carefully and listen to their ideas, when I go into boardroom to do presentation, it's something I foster. We had physicians with language barrier.
Sure.
Didn't mean I didn't listen to them.
That's right.
Those guys are smart too.
Yeah.
They're physicians.
Yeah.
So when when we preach this, we have to practice it also.
Sure.
So HR came and they said, we give them another 3 weeks. And I said, I want a progress report.
Yeah.
I'm going to rerun these law cases. And he didn't change. So
He didn't.
They escort him.
They did.
Security came, escort him,
Yeah.
and he was gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's things like that. While we have to be tolerant, we also cannot, push for intolerance.
Yeah.
We need to be tolerant,
Yeah,
and
empathy.
we need to listen to every employee,
Right.
listen to their ideas,
Yeah.
and include them in the conversation.
Yeah.
Let them feel.
Yeah.
There was a study that was done that showed, despite monetary compensation, if an employee is not happy, they're not going to be happy.
Not going to be happy. No.
On the flip side of that, you can undercompensate someone based on the geographic area.
Yeah.
You can undercompensate them, but if they're happy, they were willing to stay on.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
they're willing
It's
to stay on.
powerful.
It's very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And that is something that when we talk about employee retention, right, how do we foster an environment
Yep.
to discourage people from leaving, give them a little bit of incentive. Sometimes, if a group of workers work an hour extra a day, yes, you get overtime, but a little gesture like buying them a pie of pizza,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
It's what, $20?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Guess what?
Goes a long
Their
way.
stomach is full.
Yeah.
They're happy.
That's right. Their heart's
right?
full, stomach's full.
It's
Yep.
like little things like that,
Yep.
that you can do to retain employees. Every time you have employee turnover, it costs the hospital or the company an additional 30%. Because if you look at your benefits about 30 to 35%
Right.
of compensation.
Yep.
If an employee leave and you have to hire another one, right? It takes about 3 months, at least 90 days,
Yep.
to get that employee up to speed.
Yep.
You're taking a full-time employee and dedicating them to that new employee for orientation.
Oh, yeah.
I call it disorientation because I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's orientation.
Yep.
So you're paying 2 full-time salary,
Sure.
right,
Sure.
for that 90 days,
Yeah.
right, for the
real.
same job that
Yep.
the one that left
Yep.
could have functioned.
Yep.
So one of the things I started doing was to have what we call exit interview. When an employee leaves, I call them in my office and I try to get a background of what happened,
Yeah.
why they're leaving.
Yeah.
Some of them may leave for valid reason. They're relocating, husband got a job or the wife got a job somewhere else. But the minute they hit that button where they say, what, Suki, I'm not happy here. What can I do to make you happy?
Right. Right.
Because you didn't log any complaints since
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yep.
If I had heard from you,
Yep.
I would change things,
Yep.
at least
Yeah.
to help to retain you. But
Yeah.
we have to listen to employees. And sometimes they don't always have to express themselves.
Yep.
Demeanor, behavioral patterns.
Yep.
As a director, as a leader,
Gotta be
you
plugged
have
in.
to have you have to be plugged in. Listen and look. Listen to others also.
Sure.
Complaining about this one.
Sure.
And that one.
Yeah. The informal network.
right.
It's pretty strong. And the thing that we talk about with the viewership, whatever little there is of it, is that, they have to, as hospital executives, insert themselves and they have to have their finger on the pulse of the informal network to really know what's going on. But like you said, so it doesn't get to that point where you're doing an exit interview. And I think you hit on something that's keen that I haven't been able to because I don't have your vantage point,
Right.
which is when you're around a table and you're trying, as an immigrant especially, to be heard, you don't want to talk louder. You don't want to draw more attention to yourself.
Right.
It's really important to you that the person that's in charge recognize you and make sure that everybody gives you the attention the right way,
Right. And nobody
sets you up.
interrupt you.
Exactly, that too.
Yeah.
And then maybe even help you by, if they repeat what you say, and make sure that there's a clear understanding. And this is communication, right? This is basic communication.
Taking
with
notes
engagement.
is so important at meetings. Taking notes
yes.
and getting back to people with their issues.
Yep.
Give them, close that loop.
Yep.
Giving them a feedback.
that, yeah.
One of the things we did in the boardroom, when I go in the boardroom, the first thing I was told, and it wasn't directed to me, but I was my CEO, such a nice man. He gave me 3 books, one with Bill Gates, one with about leadership. Came in my office one day and sat down. I said, Suki, man, you are like I don't know how to describe you. There's none of you in here because I'm a
Right.
clinician.
That's right.
But also I run the statistics.
Yep.
People person.
Yep.
And what he told me, he said, if you're in a chair and you think your voice need to be heard, you're in the wrong chair.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I love that.
If you think you're the only one speaking,
I like that.
you're in the wrong chair.
I love that.
Give others a chance to speak. Listen
Yes.
to others.
Yeah.
If you feel the need that your voice need to be the only one in the room, you're in the wrong chair.
I've heard something similar. That was really well put. The thing that I just heard a couple of weeks ago from a CEO out in Texas, he said to me, out of all the advice that he could give anybody to help in his many years, he came up as a nurse, so he's coming from the CNO perspective. Now he's a CEO. He said, look, surround yourself with good people. That's the best advice that he could offer and then use your gut to tell you who's good, But the thing that I think is going to be the theme as we go forward when you're talking about retention is, number one, you have to be seeking good people and you have to have a gut for telling, But how do you do that? So when I was coming up, and I give the hospital executives, people like you, a lot of credit for my success. It's because you told me straight away, you said, you have to show that you care. That's my responsibility to show that I care.
Right.
Then I have to put in the effort.
Right.
And so that's something that was a prerequisite.
It's not fake care, right?
No, it's not. No, they'll tell if you're genuine. They absolutely can. And so I was 22 or 23-year-old me.
Right.
I did that stuff naturally. I didn't know it, but I did it.
Yeah.
And so then the third thing is, after you put in you show you care, you put in the effort. The third thing for them was you have to be through thick and thin. You can't just be here when things are
supportive.
good.
Yep.
Right. And so what they were trying to do was get that, like every glacier, there's only 10% showing.
Yeah.
They wanted to see that 90% underneath the water.
The support there.
Yeah. So we actually welcomed challenges. They wanted me to go to just to see if I was going to come out on the other side. And so when we talk about employees is how do you as an executive, I think you've hit it. We have to foster the environment.
The environment has to be
healthy.
Yep, healthy. So one of the things I didn't touch on, how do you get maximum performance from an employee?
Right.
Without telling them you want more from them. Right.
Yeah.
How do you pick out leader? Let's say you have a group, 20 employees, right? How do you decide, which one is going to go above and beyond?
Right.
So what they did an experiment. This owner of the company, he chartered a sailboat and he took all his employees on the sailboat. And I don't think it was manufactured, but somehow they created an emergency where one of the rope was busted and the sail just started flapping.
Yeah.
Right? And people run helter-skelter.
Yeah.
But one guy climbed up on the mast and with the wind slapping it around, he struggled to grab the rope. And he brought it back.
Okay.
And they were able to connect it and stabilize the boat.
Okay.
And that was a marquee of a person who would go above and beyond. That's what leader. He went out above and beyond the call of duty to rescue that boat, to hold that mast down. There's another one, and this one came out recently. You guys probably know about this already. A CEO of a company was about to retire. So he called all his senior executives. He said, I'm going to choose a new leader, right? And they're like, okay. They were all excited. So he said, look, I'm going to give you each one a seed. I want you to take this seed, take it home, plant it, and in a year time, I want you to come back with it. So he gave everybody a seed. They all went home. They planted their seed. This one guy, Jim, planted his seed. He's waiting. A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, nothing. He's watering it, his wife, nutrient in the soil, nothing. 3 weeks, 6 months. They're all talking, all the other ones are communicating, oh, my plant is doing really well, blah, blah, blah. He's getting worried. He said, honey, I'm not going to get this job. My seed didn't grow. And his wife said, don't worry about it, honey. Be true to yourself. Be honest, And he said, okay. So the year up, they're all taking their pots. He's taking an empty pot. And nothing grew. And he didn't want to go to work. His wife pushed him. He said, no, you go and you just tell the truth. Tell them what you did. Tell your boss what you did.
Sure.
They all went in the boardroom and he went to the back and he hid. Everybody brought out their big, beautiful plants, flowers, everything. They're all like on display. The CEO sat down, he looked around, and he started talking. He said, well, a year ago, I gave each one of you a seed, and I asked you to take it home, plant it, and bring it back. Mm-hmm. And all of you came in with this all beautiful plants, and then somehow he looked at the back, and he saw Jim like crouched down. So he said, Jim, what happened? So he warned the CFO executive. He said, go bring Jim up here. He said, everybody stand. They put their pots out there. Then he said, a year ago, I gave all you guys a seed, and you came back with beautiful plants. However, Jim's plant didn't grow. I wonder why. So he said, everybody sit down but Jim. And he's shaking. He's like, oh, man, this is embarrassing. He said, you know what I did a year ago? I gave you all you guys boiled seeds. It was impossible for that seed to grow.
Oh.
You all, after you find out the seed didn't grow, you all went and bought another seed and replaced it with the seed.
Oh, my gosh.
Jim didn't do that. Jim was honest to himself.
Yeah.
He's an honest man, and I think he'll be an honest leader. Jim, you're the next CEO.
Oh, wow. What a story.
So just be honest to yourself. Don't try to fake things or try to fudge things. So those are the two little stories. The one with the mass who will go above and beyond, and the one with the seed.
And I think that's a great way to exit our interview. And
Thank you.
Suki, that's you, man.
Jim,
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Love you,
Danny,
brother.
you're my brother. You're my brother in Christ, and you're my brother, from another mother.
Hey, this is your host, Danny Mobley. Thanks for watching Humans of Healthcare. Please subscribe below for more great interviews.